All right. Let me make sure everything's working. We can get started. All right, YouTube's up, and then... All right, Twitch. Let me see if Twitch loads. Hey, Michael. Are you seeing the stream on Twitch, Michael? Because I am not seeing it right now. Might just be a little slow. Alright, where was I? Anything crafting at all? Probably not. I might have a base crafting. We'll do the turret. Yeah, is the visual coming through all right? Why do I have to wait a minute? Why? Alright. What quest do we want to do? Let's do some Babel. Hey Leo, how's it going? I haven't done very many of the quests on Babel yet. Alright, perfect. We'll see how it holds up over time. That's just from a crate, lost memento. And what other Babel quests? I mean, it's basically just saying, go play Scav Girl with Scav Backpack. We did it. We made one grenade. I feel like it's just easier to gun through it, to be honest. Let's get our pack mule. Plenty of AK ammo. Actually, I'm kind of low on AK ammo, actually, weirdly enough. Alright, 545. Buy some meds. Alright, Heisenberg. Shotgun for emergencies. Mainly just cyborgs. Don't need much. And I guess the decoy grenade we got. We'll get one more. Alright, and the only other thing we need now, I think, is to turn off the HUD. Alright, Babel we go. I probably need to make sure I start collecting water too. I am not great on water right now. I mainly just need to do more quests, really. Yeah, I haven't done or bothered with the South quest in Babel yet. It feels like kind of a shit show. Now, I have to be mindful that they did remove the indicators for aggro in no HUD mode again. So to be very cautious about what might be angry with me. There's a jerry can if I want that. Probably not really useful at all. I do hope they add models for guns on the drones. It's kind of weird how they still just like shoot out of the ether. Like, they really want a gun for their model. Alright. Pick up that water in a second. I do have the grenades I need to actually use. The distraction grenades. I mean, actually, if they ever do that, that would be nice. Wait, what? I can see through the world. There's nothing there. Yeah, I mean, Rage, it just needs more things that emphasize, like, for a game that's supposed to be an anti-shooter, it really leans heavily into combat slash, like, having to fight through things as your main obstacle, right? Having environmental hazards would be one way of introducing challenges that aren't combat focused. Or gates that aren't combat focused. Alright, you just ran through me. Alright, no big deal. Alright, there was more in here than I was expecting. There was more in there than I was like, oh my god. Where do they... Alright, I will say this. Well, A, I deserve that, but B... Yeah, there was a lot in there. That is one downside of not having having no HUD on, is you can't really tell how many enemies are around a corner now. I'm not sure if they kept spawning there's that many in there. I will say though, like, there was like probably like, yeah, 12 of them in there, probably like a dozen. It was fine since at the start, but like when you see a small room like that, and for enemies to not seem like they were there the entire time, when the room doesn't have any ingress, or like basically like ways they could have come from. See, like that's the kind of thing I hope they pay attention to more in the future, of like trying to rationalize like where units are coming from, right? It's perfectly fine if they come there from the start or the rip, but having them spawn there, like they didn't feel like they were there the entire time. Right? There was no like illusion that they were just like there bunkered up. It was more that like it just felt like they spawned there. If there was like just a door or a way for them to come down into that room, it would make a lot more sense, right? How they would like show up there, or like a stairway, right? I mean, yeah, Rage, like that's what I kind of mean too, like environmental hazards, like, you know, things that are, you know, obstacles to the player that isn't combat. Alright, let's run that back. I kind of feel like I should just run a automatic jump like every single time on this map to get around that main causeway. It just seems so precarious to ever go through that main causeway area. I'm not even like, I mean, Delta, sure, that's like extremes.
Not dead yet.
Hey, how? But like, honestly, things as simple as just like, you know, a hazardous area, like a jump, right? It doesn't have to even kill the player, it just has to be an obstacle in the way. Like, for example, you could equate this to like being a hazard in some way, right? Like, there's no real downside if you fall, but like, you could make it long enough where you actually take damage if you fall. So in a way that could be a hazard. You could just do hazards in the sense of like, you know, precarious walking spots where you have to be like careful where you move across. Like, for example, walking across one of these, it's not inherently just, like, insanely dangerous, but it is precarious, right? Or things, for example, that, like, you know, they don't directly lead to combat, but more in the sense of, like, if you take too long could, like, say, for example, if there was a way to climb up here, but it just took time, means that you're in the open for long periods of time, so it in itself isn't an obstacle, but it can become one from, like, you taking too long. I mean, you could do radiation too, but then it, like, gets in the nitty-gritty of, like, how do you display that to the player, how do you balance it, do you need to add items, so on and so forth, like... Are you alive? Or are you just chilling there? Yeah, this is what I mean, though. Like, this room, it, like, makes sense for things to spawn here and be bunkered up, but, like, if I come back into this room, it doesn't make a lot of sense for things to be, like respawned here, right? Because there's no, like, if there was like a simple door here or like a stairway that was like locked off to the player, that could help at least ground it somewhat. I'm not sure if that's a cyborg or just a prop that's in the wall. It could be a stuck cyborg too. See, I want to climb up that. Like, imagine like part of the puzzle is like figuring out how to... I can't wait for that bug to be fixed. Just a random little love shot, like climbing up the staircase here. And like the obstacle is like how fast you can climb it because you're necessarily like, in the open while climbing it, right? Or like climbing up this, right? Like you could call this an obstacle because it's kind of precarious and awkward, but like that leading to certain areas would be cool as shit. Oh my god, it's actually higher now. Whoa. I will say, there probably needs to be more states in between, like, getting shot and getting staggered, right? Like, right there, I didn't notice the guy was shooting me until the end. And granted, I do have no HUD mode on, right? But, like, your character not reacting all to getting shot feels a bit weird, too. Alright, go ahead and turn you on. Okay, there's Memento. There's that. You still need medical supplies. I need to free the civilian also. Can you elaborate, Reggie? Alright, you're in there, right? Yep. Yeah, I think that would probably require like a whole restructuring of how they've done the AI. Oh. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go this way. Huh. Well, I mean, that's just a way of, like, on the UI indicator kind of, like, letting you know that you're under, like, aggro, right, Michael? But it's more in the sense of, like, I think he's talking about, like, them not necessarily, like, knowing exactly where you are, but, like, hearing something and going to investigate, right? I will say the problem with that, though, is, like, the main, like, there's so much going on almost every map, like, they wouldn't be able to do search and patrol patterns, right? Because they would just instantly get it, like, they go into combat so quickly so often that, like, there's never really a moment for them to chill out and, like, actually do a search. Because they kind of do that to some extent, not very thoroughly, but to some extent, right? But the problem is like they get into like things spawn so quickly and respawn so quickly that like there's never a point where like the AI can chill and just like do more passive states. I didn't mean to come up here. It's interesting. It's weird too because like as a scavenger, is it because like the fights are always like this, like no matter what, or is like the scavengers just going out the worst time of day to actually explore? I like Babel too, but yeah, you are right, it is very small. Am I hurt? Guess I didn't have my meds on. The real problem with no HUD, just can never tell if you actually are oh, I think that wants a drill, I think. I actually am just out of meds. Alright, well, time to run. Alright, Mr. Exo, please no hurt. I mean, they do gamer, right? But, like, that's more of, like, they're always in that state because things respond so aggressively. Yeah, I think Delta, if that's the case, they need to add a little more, like, system nuance to the game to, like, reinforce that concept, right? Of, like, utilizing the chaos of battle to your advantage. Like, they need to contextualize how chaotic battles are and how it distracts enemies from you.
Narrow but clean.
Alright, I did 1 out of 2. I did not help him escape, apparently. I wouldn't say the route is... Okay, so... The route is too simple if you compare it to a lot of games. The route is not that simple if you compare it to most other maps. Like... It is one of the few maps in the game that actually provides you, like, a few different pathways to the map. And, like, some actual, like, nuance, or, like, not nuance, because they all kind of are just combat-oriented paths still, regardless. But, like, they do allow you to just choose a few different paths. Like, there's technically really only 2 or 3 through the map. Technically really 2, if you consider, like, the left and the center way. But, like, that's more than most maps, to be honest. And one of them being gated behind pneumatic jump, too, is kind of nice. Or rather, it's one way with that pneumatic jump, which is cool. Like, the fact that we're finally seeing considerations about movement is nice. Or at least, like, pathing through maps. Is it enough? Not really. I still do think they're genuinely... much more focused on like the aesthetics of maps over the gameplay. Like, because all of the maps like look really nice and have lots of like very high amounts of visual fidelity, which is, you know, great eye candy, but you know. Actually, let's just do a quick run on Babel to kind of demonstrate my point. No, I mean, they are artists after all, right? But that isn't like... That shouldn't be like a hand wave ragey, I feel like, just to say that it's okay. Like, is that context important? Sure. But it shouldn't, like, it shouldn't validate everything that they're doing just because... of artists. Because at that point you can just hand wave like every game feature that would add more substance to the game because, you know, they're artists. Alright, we'll do one more Babel. I mean, you can still do the concept art way, Michael, and still do blocking before that, right? Like, you can have someone go block out the map and figure out the layouts with the context of environmental art in mind.
Maybe eating a bullet would be better.
The script is in progress. That's all I'll basically say. The problem is, like, keep in mind, every time they make a unit that's hard to trigger, it makes getting footage of that unit a giant pain in the ass. So, anyway, you can probably see where I'm going with this, right? It's like, it's harder to do videos on, like, the opals, the new, you know, meat patty unit, other units like that, because it is just a giant pain in the ass to get footage of it. So, right here, you technically have 3 paths chosen to you. I believe, brother, my brother in Christ, can you please just stop spawning for 1 second? Anyway, so you have 3 paths here, right? You have the right path, which requires a jump. You have the middle path, which doesn't require a jump, and the left path, which does require a jump. So, like, first off, like, all of these paths leading you to somewhere is already way more than most maps offer you right off the rip, right? Like, most maps right now, like Scrapyard, Scorched Enclave, like, they really just say go forward towards something, right? Like Scorched Enclave, you go Graveyard, you go straight to, like, the middle area, right? Because there's nothing on the left or the right, really. And then Scrapyard, you have any choice at all. Mech Trench, still, once again, because it only really has one central point of interest. You can move around that point of interest, but you're always going to end up in the center of Mech Trench, right? So, like, despite this map not having tons of pathways relative to the other maps we currently have, it does actually do a better job at that. Now, I do like that they included the fact that there's a dramatic jump. There's like one-way paths. That like this is a great design. I love this side room here, right? This side room does a good job. It's a one-way path. If you've already gone through the map, you don't require a jump. But if you want to skip parts of the map, you can invest in a jump to get across that chasm, right? I do think maps, it's a balancing act, but anyway. So I can come up here and avoid the main little fighting area of the map. Now, is there really anything in here? No. And I think that's okay, right? Like, there are spawns that can happen in here, but having side rooms like this, like, sort of like filler areas for movement, this is great. This is perfectly fine, right? You can add some ambiance pieces, like little stuff like this. This is great. And occasional amounts of combat here, right? Like, having these negative areas where players can kind of find respite for a bit is nice. Especially with a game with no pausing. Now, hey Jacob, the biggest problem I will say though too, like, I can definitely understand where people are coming from in the sense of like the map is too small, and I really think it comes down to like, all of the maps almost in a way feel like locations, like their own points of interest. So like the actual travel to those maps is like take for example customs in Tarkov, right? If you're familiar with Tarkov, like a lot of that map isn't necessarily like looting and killing, it's navigating the map to get to the places where you want to loot and kill, right? And that's like a very important step that's missing right now. And if like maybe that's kind of them cluing in that they're trying to do like multi-raid or multi-level mechanics, as in like these feel like locations we're supposed to actually, like this is our reward, right, is these locations, and they're supposed to be already pretty high risk.
Enemies came knocking.
I mean, gamer, I usually, when you get into systems like that, I usually prefer like numerical nuance as opposed to just black and whites. I think I don't like if you need a simple solution, like black and whites are perfectly fine. Out of meds? No, I just got a lot of small meds. But I prefer like I black and whites I feel like have the issue of like feeling bad sometimes, right? Where people feel forced into it. Oh, that's John in a way that feels like every map though. I will actually say, like, on these side areas it's not so bad. There's plenty of cover in the side areas. Like, this could have just been a giant empty space. So like this is nice over here, right? And there's cover over here too. But that massive central area, yeah, it's a giant shit show. But I do agree with you in the concept that a lot of the maps are lacking lots of cover. Like, for example, technically speaking, in a giant war like state on Ashen Mesa, like crossing that middle field should be like a death sentence, right? Like it honestly feels like the middle areas of that map once covers in trenches, right? Like not elaborate trenches like Elephant, like those are like well structured, but kind of like just temporary like dugouts and holes, right? Things to find cover on the fields of Ashen Mesa. All right, yeah. Do not. You can maybe make this with the scav girl plus the you know the jump bug where you jump higher with when you crouch midair. Did they fix that? No, it's a little bit higher. I would not recommend this. Like it's a jump where if you miss, you die. So I think with maybe Scav Girl you can make it that pneumatic jump, but I wouldn't try it. I would just always bring a jump to do that. Basically, Trooper, right? Just like it doesn't need to like rain on Elephant's Parade by having elaborate trenches or mech trenches that, you know, giant trenches. It can just have like actual dugouts and holes, right? You know, pieces of cover for players to use as they're moving across the hellhole that is Ashen Mesa's field. Are we getting hit? Oh, hey crawler. Yeah, it's kind of it's drone hell, and it's just like it's also with Noah just be it looks so good too. It is probably by far the best looking map, which is a damn shame. I want more. No. I came over here for loot, and I feel like I probably used more ammunition than I actually acquired. Stop spotting, please. Alright, let's leave. I'm not even sure if I want, like, expansion, sure, but just really more depth to maps, right? Am I getting shot at? I think they spawned on the ground, maybe. Like, if they're ever planning to do multi-raid, like the size of maps is fine. It's just more that they need more stuff on them, right? Like rooms and things, and like actual areas of like high risk. Like that's the big thing with the HKs too, right? It's just like a big aspect of HKs that feel bad, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Let me just get out of here. Rod. It doesn't make a lot of sense that, like, for example, on Mesa, right? You go find a container in the middle of the open, right? It's not guarded at all. It's just in the open, right? You open it, you pick up a picture, and now suddenly you have HKs on you, right? The proportionality there doesn't make a lot of sense. While in contrast, if like a player goes and loots a high risk area, right, and picks up something of high value, well then it makes a lot more sense. Like the player will then realize like, hey, like yeah, this is a high risk area. It's gonna come with the consequence of having HKs hunt me after I pick up the item, right? Like that proportionally makes a lot more sense. It still needs to be balanced, but it's not as like just crazy as, oh hey, you picked up 4 barrels of water that no one was guarding in Ashen Mesa. Enjoy your grabber. No, that's a big thing in a lot of maps, John. It's just the constant, what's the right word? Just like the reinforcements, the respawns are just way too quick. Like, I'm guessing they just didn't want to add a timer, and the only check is if the units have died, it respawns them. There's no delay. It just, that's the only check. Because it does happen, like, a lot. I think that was originally the thing with, like, both the Europa drone and the Eurasian drone don't have guns on them. They just shoot from the center mass of them, right? They just spawn projectile and shoot out. So, like, it does definitely feel like the Europa drone's there for surveillance and the Eurasia drone's there to, like, abduct people, right? Alright, that's enough babble for now. Let's go play Stairway. Now, keep in mind, like, yeah, considering our last map was Stairway, you can see why I like Babel so much. Because, in comparison to Stairway, there's so much more interesting pathing and choices presented to you on Babel, right? And it's not a lot more, but just by how simple the Stairway is, it makes it amazing by comparison. Oh, this is not the upgraded rig. Hold on here. Stealth rig. I need more bullets. I mean, maybe gamer, but like they're not modeled for them, right? I guess they like it. I imagine like they needed a unit. They needed to fill out their roster more for early access, and like they couldn't just add utility enemies in, right?
It's always the same up here.
Oh, also, before I forget. Now, if you guys would be so kind, that is a form to a survey, and the results of that survey will be shared with the developers. And it's mainly it's from my question of the week channel on my Discord. It's mainly asking about the water system, and like right now, I don't want to skew you too heavily to fill it out, or sorry, respond a certain way, but like it's mainly just asking about like the void that removing the IRL water system like basically left, right? Because while I do agree that IRL water had to go, because it just is miserable for players to have to experience that, because no one wants to be forced to play a game consistently, and like go do what you want. It did leave a void behind of like, hey, like what's the pressure driving us doing things, right? Like, there's now suddenly a void of, like, what's the motive for all of this, right? Are we just mercenaries now, or survivors? And the solution isn't really, like, necessarily, like, adding water back in some capacity. It's more of just, like, finding something to fill the void, right? It doesn't have to be water. Thanks, Reggie. There needs to be some pressure exerted on the player, right, to like go forward. And like it is harder to do in a game like this, I will say. Like Tarkov has like the benefit of like it's PvP and you're trying to keep up with other players. so that you can better compete against them. Like, that being a main driver is a huge kind of like boon to Tarkov, right? But in a game like this where you're not really competing with other players, the game itself has to present you with that kind of pressure mechanic, right? Otherwise, it just kind of, the question gets raised constantly of why are you doing this? It wasn't bad, Seraph, like, the problem is this, like, the key problem with the old war system is this, Seraph. If you're trying to make water a scarce resource and balancing it appropriately and making it feel like you need to keep up with it, you have to balance around a certain player, right? Just because of how it is. Like, are you going to balance around the more casual players and then make, you know, the more hardcore players feel like, you know, this is a joke of a system, why is it so easy? There's no pressure here? Or do you make it more tuned for, you know, the more hardcore player, and then casual players are like constantly struggling or getting soft reset by the water mechanic? It comes down to this. With an IRL water system, right, how do you balance between one player playing 1 hour a week and one player playing 10 hours a week? And you can provide lots of extra ways for, like, I guess, people to catch up, but like it's just introducing a lot of issues if you're trying to ever have a consistent experience between different types of players. At least in my opinion. Oh my god, they're so tanky now. We're good. Like, they eventually got to the point, Seraph, where they like, it was pretty draconian at the start, and they just gutted it patch after patch after patch, to the point where, yeah, it was wildly irrelevant, but still, like, it just, the issue was still there, right? Of, like, no one wants to feel like a game should be a chore for them. And I know the experience they were going for, right? They were trying to, like, have you kind of have this faux live service, but they did a very poor job, in my opinion, of, like, explaining that that's what they were trying to do, right? Is kind of give a faux live service game, right? Of like, hey, there's these persistent, you know, meta things going on even when you're not playing the game. And maybe if they kind of explained that kind of vision earlier on in marketing, the players would have been much more okay with that sort of system, because the players who weren't wouldn't have bought in. I need to go over there so my body's in there. We're bonded brothers. I should have brought a flashlight. Oh well. I think he spawns right here if he is. Yeah, he's not here. Alright. It looked like a way they wanted to apply pressure to the player. Yep. It is insanely painful, which makes it even more reason to have a backup gun, right? And I'm like, it's painful, but I'm kind of okay with it, right? Like, they are interrupting your reload. That's you getting staggered, right? Once again, I do think there probably needs to be, like, one more extra state on top of, like, before staggered. Like, kind of like, you know, what's that thing called, where, like, you get shot? It's not aim punch, but, like, when you get slowed down, you get shot. There's, like, an actual mechanical term for that. I just can't recall what it is. God. Like, games like Tarkov have it. Lots of FPSs have it, too. I think it's called tagging, actually. I think it might be called tagging. Getting tagged. So, like, getting tagged, and it's, like, maybe, like, tagged and slightly aim punched, where, like, if you get shot... No, yeah, I think it's a Valorant term. I think it's what they call it. I think it's what they call in Valorant is tagging. Thanks, gamer. Appreciate it. So it's tagging plus aim punch, right? Tagging involves, like, you getting slowed when you get shot. So, like, or get hit, take damage, essentially. So, like, you know, you have reduced movement speed, which makes it harder to get out of danger. And then you have aim punch, which actually, like, you know, messes up your aim. It's not only a Valorant thing, Ragey, like CS Counter-Strike has it too, right? Where you like when you get shot, you get slowed down. I'm gonna let him vibe and keep shooting his Scar. Like, I don't really like Valorant either, but it's the first thing that came to mind, because I knew it was used in some game I've played in the past as a very aggressive term. Because I think Valorant was pretty aggressive on it maybe earlier on. I can't recall. It's been so long. But like, no, Valorant is basically Zoomer CSGO, or Zoomer Counter-Strike. It's essentially the onboarding process for Counter-Strike. Thanks, Within. Appreciate it. No, John, they fixed that. You can now. No, John, they edited it in a hotfix like a couple patches ago. Like, so you can cancel swap now. So like when you reload, if I hit 2 right now, it switches my guns. It doesn't reload your gun, but like, so like, hold on, let me turn the HUD on for a second here. So like, I can shoot, reload, and I can cancel animation now and go to my second gun. So that's in the game now. That was it in like maybe like a week or 2 ago, or sorry, probably like 2 weeks ago. So like the reason why you're not, when you're getting staggered now while reloading is because of that system too, right? Probably, I would imagine. Because before the reload happened no matter what, I believe. It was more timer based, but now it's actually like requiring you to finish the animation. So it just makes having a second hand much more important now, which is nice. I will agree to that. And it makes like, if they ever add utility weapons too, or utility items for your second hand slot, it would actually introduce like a real downside, right? Where like, or a cost. So like, say for example, you bring a drill in, like a handheld drill, but now you only have your primary. So if you get caught out by cyborgs, it's a real bad time for you.
By the skin of our teeth.
I mean, we can go experiment with that. It could be that like so John, I will say what probably happen is you might be in the actual animation for getting staggered, and during that animation, it will not respond to inputs. It's the same thing as the knockdown, right? Like, you notice how when you get knocked down, your inputs do absolute jack shit. It's probably the same thing there, where if you're in the staggered animation itself, it does not let you to do anything. So that's a good note. Like, that maybe there should be some queuing, some input queuing. Like, that's actually probably where they have me just remembering that. Let me write that down real quickly. Boop. That's usually a pretty important thing I actually will say too in lots of games, right? Is actually like figuring out animation queuing. No, sorry, not queuing per se. Actually, I mean, it's just queuing actually. To make your game feel much more responsive. That was a big thing, I think, with New World, right? New World had a big issue in early access where like they had to figure out how to queue their inputs properly, because there was that period where it just felt bad because your inputs weren't being queued properly. Probably. It depends on what like light stagger actually looks like, right? Because light stagger, all that means is aim punch, right? And it would look, like, the problem is that, Michael, is it looks weird when your animations get slowed down. So it's more of like, probably not, Michael, just because it looks weird when you slow down animations like that. I know of it. I'm not gonna do it on stream, but I know of it. I'm not very fond of doing exploits on streams, because then it becomes an explain how to do exploits stream. We did not find his brother. We can do Alpha Mausoleum. I'm perfectly fine if people want to do exploits, but I'm just not going to advertise them. Like that's the glory of a PvE game like this. If you want to do that, like that's your own prerogative, right? You're not ruining anyone else's experiences. So go crazy. We're not doing Red Baron. Sure, that works. It would look off-putting, I think. I don't think you necessarily need to slow down the reloads when you're getting staggered. I think just movement and aim punch is enough. And not like crazy amounts of aim punch too, just enough to like, if you're aiming for a head, you know, it throws off your aim, but if you're aiming for the body, you should mostly be fine. And you could vary it too by caliber also, if you really wanted to go crazy. But no, like a light staggered state. No, I wouldn't want to be bothered. Like, the thing is, gamer, if I'm having to micromanage companions, I'm already, like, not sold. I don't usually like playing summoner classes for that reason, right? I don't want to micromanage a bunch of companions. If it's in, like, you know, if it's like an actual turn-based game, different story, but like in an RTS game, I don't want to be managed feeling rushed to like micromanage 3 or 4 units. I don't know, Wiki, maybe. I generally do not know if he like can block Rogan shots with his shield or not. But I think he does take quite a lot. I think he takes like, I think he by default takes like what, 7 or 8 shots to take down. Yeah, Seraph, like in an ideal world, like the problem is that, like, the problem is this. If you're gonna have, like, naturally a perfect system would be doing tiered reloads, right? What you're describing is tiered reloads, where, like, you know, reloads have phases, and as opposed to like resetting to the beginning, it would reset to a tier of that reload. So like, say for example, there's like tiers at like 25%, 50%, and 75%, right? And so you wouldn't have to restart the whole reload again. That's a ton of animation work and configuring work. And when they already have 44 guns in the game, like that is too big of a requirement for them to do right now. Thanks, Vinny, appreciate it. In an ideal world with infinite time and money and resources, 100%, tier reloads are the way to go. But like, for a game trying to do much more than just having a very elaborate gunplay system, and to be honest, it's probably doing it needs to emphasize the not gunplay more. Like, it's probably not worth the effort, because it's a lot of time, right? Depending on how granular you want to get, right, you're asking for, you know, lots of animation work for every single gun. Especially considering, too, like, yeah, it's just a lot. Yeah, L4A1, that's kind of my thought too. It just it looks futuristic, and it's like, for the people who aren't tank nerds, like that could look like, you know, a bespoke tank, right? Like, if you go poll a general gameplay, a game person, right, they're not gonna know what Merkava is. Now, if they Google it, they can figure it out, but like, by and large, I would say that, you know, most players are not gonna know what Merkava is. No, Eiko, that's one of my, like, big things too, is I think lots of maps right now are very poorly paced. That side room, for example, on Babel is like a very great area of like having a player able to like slow down and collect themselves, right? but lots of maps kind of like lack those areas where you can take a pacing reprieve, especially once things get going, right?
Ton of them.
It also like kind of like the HU system too causes that pain point also, and like that tension is good sometimes, but like all of the maps are guilty of it. Be free. I'm not even sure if they need a huge rework or they just need to like not be omniscient, right? Like they could do a lot more if they wanted to, but on a basic level, just not having them know exactly where the player is constantly is a huge thing. All right, that's all the quests, I'm pretty sure. Did I miss a guy? That's a body. Yeah, that's a corpse there. You can't rescue him. No, there's a lot. There's lots of work I need to know where the HK is. I think you only need to rescue actually one for it to count. They just need to basically get to the point where they despawn off the map. And I will say, like, one big thing too, right, is with the maps currently, just like how they're laid out. Like, the quests can't be that complicated, right? Yes and no. There are some areas of some maps where you can find reprieves. Like, they're not conventional areas where you think you're very safe, but once you play the game enough, you kind of know you're safe. Like Mech Trench, there is there's whenever you can close a door on a map, generally the other side of the door is safe, like the one that you just closed, because enemies can no longer path through that, so they won't even bother trying to path through it, right? So if you close a door, usually the other side of the door is usually pretty fine. On Mech Trench, there's like the meat grinder area you can take reprieve in. There's not a lot. Like if you're looking for areas across the map where you can take refuge in, yeah, there's not a lot, I will say. Like having pneumatic jump is very helpful in that regard if you always need to have like an escape to like a calmer area. Elephant, I would say, is actually a pretty bad area for what you're describing. Yeah, it's pretty constantly hectic. Mesa, you can find areas, like most maps I would say have areas for that. It just depends on like, yeah, it's not always convenient to go there. And I will say too, like they should just probably add in a menu pause for single player people. It's still Frozen Swamp. It's not even close. Frozen Swamp is the only map where it felt like they actually took in, like, Frozen Swamp feels like an actual extraction shooter map. I know what we're playing now. Like, it's got a bunch of travel areas, and then it's got locations inside of those travel areas, right? And it's decently sized too, where part of the map is actually just moving through the map. Yeah, I've raised that issue to them. I'm hoping that they're like actually aware of it or like willing to work on it. A lot of my talks with them have been about like, hey, like your selling pitch was that you're like a PvE offline extraction shooter, which screams, hey, casual players, come play our game. And so like you should be keeping those casual players in mind. You can still provide a hardcore experience, but like your quality of life features, like pausing when you hit escape when you're single player, like those should be by default. Like those should be concessions that you're willing to make immediately. Let's go over to Lamar. Actually, let's do some Gunhead. No idea. Yeah, faintest idea of when we're seeing any new units at all. They did do that poll, so I guess we'll see. They did. Technically, Europe is next on the docket. I mean, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that approach. If you're trying to say like you should have like, if your point is like having a bunch of smaller maps, sure. 545, yeah, that's okay. But like if we're trying to have like 20 frozen swamps of varying difficulties, I don't think they need to be afraid of loading screens in our current day and age, right? I think everyone can understand it's an indie game, and so like if there has to be loading screens in between levels or like sub-levels, that's perfectly fine. Like say for example, beneath like if you were supposed to go to the bunker beneath Ashen Mesa, you know, that whole bunker complex, like that being a loading screen to a different level or map is perfectly fine, or like an airlock to enter it, right? So you could still be on the same level. That's perfectly fine. Alright, I am missing a few drills, I believe. Why do I have maggots on Gunhead? John, because it's habit. Because when I'm talking, I'm not thinking about actually equipping things. I'm just doing default loadout stuff. SD Gamer, there's probably more units that they have actually drawn up and modeled than they can actually probably ever include in the game.
Unit 7 and 6, reporting clear skies ahead.
Yeah, Unkillables is definitely an interesting issue, right? Like, I have no idea why they are the way they are. It kind of ties back to proportionality, right? Like, or just like, the key way I would balance Unkillables is you wouldn't make them unkillable, you would balance the economy to the point where the amount of resources to kill one would be stupid for you to ever use on one. Alright, I have... What quest do I have? Never tell. I know I have to do the jammer, I know I have the manifest heist, and there's a third one I forgot I had. Yeah, like having them killable by other factions too, like essentially the weapons you would need to field is something that would get you on a list immediately, right? It makes sense because like they're not like, yeah, like a key concern would be like, right, say for example you're playing 4-player co-op, right, and one player wants to go into like say the bunker underneath the map. Like say for example like there is a bunker level beneath Ashen Mesa for the bunker on the map, right? I am perfectly fine, like, and I think players should be fine too with, and this is my opinion actually, that if a player wants to go to the bunker, everyone should have to regroup and collect each other and go to that bunker together, right? Because that's essentially a new level. Like, there's a certain point where you have to basically tell players, like, if you want to go to a new level or this area of the map, you have to regroup. And it's perfectly okay with that, I think, to like just have that be a mechanic of the game and not have to explain it. It's a technical limitation within the game, so that's the way it's gonna be, right? Because you know, it's peer-to-peer. Yeah, Duffs, the problem is though, right, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, for example, Captain Chin, right? Like, seeing, like, why doesn't a 20mm kill him? to the head, right? Like that, there's that level of dissonance, right? Of like, how is he okay? Should he even be like one of the unkillables? Yeah, that's perfectly fine too, right? There just needs to be like there could be different ways of going in. Perfectly fine. That's like no issues with that. It just has to be like, you know, the players are moving to the next area. You need to like regroup with them, or go to the loading area with them, or go to a loading area with them. It doesn't have to be the same one, but it has to be an entry point to that area of the map, right? Yeah, like that's the dissonance, right? L83. It doesn't make a lot of sense how tanky they are. I mean, you can kill medium max, you can't kill Captain Chen though. And that's like the level of dissonance too, right? It feels like very picky and choosy what things are unkillable and what things aren't. Why is the medium mech killable but Captain Chen's not? It feels like some special rules are applied to the units because they're cool units, right? Not necessarily because they should be, you know, special. Oh, they're the medium mechs are stacked with armor, but like weirdly enough, like right now you can strip them with a single RPK mag. Granted, it's the big mag for the RPK, but you can still do it with the mag. Yeah, I mean, Seraph, and the way I would personally balance it is I would just like, right now we have access to too many resources. Like, I personally think lots of players enjoy stockpiling things, right? It rewards the hoarder, like, looter scavenger mentality. And so, like, making things a lot scarcer and harder to acquire, and, like, rewarding you for stock... Like, if a player wants to stockpile for, let's say, like, 10, 20, 30 raids of austerity, right? Where they're, like, bringing nothing in, they're saving all the resources. If they want to go turn around and use that to take down a special unit, because that's the amount of ammunition they would need to bring to kill one, perfectly fine and well. Like, I have no problem with that. Now, granted, there should be consequences for pursuing that line, like, for example, hunter-killers. Like, you taking that much ammunition in and being like, hey, I'm here to go kill special, that should draw the ire of enemies, right? It shouldn't be a black and white system that says, no, you can't do this. It should be a system where it says, hey, you can certainly try and do this. It's kind of stupid, though. And as I'm sure you guys can see with Helldivers 2 right now, players love to meme and be silly on the internet. For example, renaming the recently rebuilt city Gun. Yeah, integrated by factions too, like, yeah, it's, yeah. So, like, letting players get rewards for hoarding and then suffer the consequences, I feel is a cool gameplay for them, right? Like, they can see that, like, okay, the specials aren't unkillable, they're just really stupid for me to try to kill. And sometimes you might even have objectives or quests or, say, like, endgame items where maybe that's a thing you kind of have to lean into and do if you want to get further in the game, where, like, hey, you know, this component for this, you know, this items upgrade requires this item from a special unit. Go stockpile up stuff and go kill them, but like you're going to have to also be prepared for the consequences of doing this, right? Like before you weren't on the radar, but you killing Mother Courage has now put you on the radar of Eurasia and Euruska, right? Like they don't like you messing with their scavenger units, and you're going to suffer the consequences now. And so like you're not making the unkillables literally unkillable, you're making them figuratively unkillable. For all but the most like prepared of basically, or, you know, scavengers. And like making items scarce and making useful items scarce too, kind of like like it doesn't mean you can be that guy forever or that guy all the time. It just means you can be that guy in short sprints when you really plan and put your heart into it, right? And then you're gonna have the resource hoarder too, who just like never does anything with like they'll have like 10,000 rounds of AP ammo, and like yeah, I'm perfectly prepared for anything. But they never use it. But no, yeah, like the whole idea of Unkillables, and like the way I would balance Unkillables too is you just make them more lethal, right? Like right now, all those units are kind of derpy, which I think is more AI than necessarily lethality purposes, but like you make them more lethal too, right? And to be honest, like once again, this is a very complicated issue because one big aspect also is, oh, this is a fun bug. One big aspect also is just like when you can only balance enemies through HP pools, yeah, it's gonna feel really weird. My laser still on? No, it's off. Okay. When you can't contextualize how tanky units are because there's no armor in the game, it's kind of rough. Like you can individually flag certain like. I understand why they're probably hesitant to do armor because it feels like bloat probably to them, but like if you're trying to add context and nuance to like enemies of what should kill them and what shouldn't, and if you're ever trying to do like kind of like boss style fights with like weak spot exploitation, I don't know, I just kind of, I'm not sure how you can do it without kind of leaning into armor. Yeah, weirdly enough, Michael, I think I'm pretty much okay with them like only having water as the key like balancing resource. Anything more just gets kind of to the point of like getting unnecessarily complicated for an extraction shooter. Like personally, I wouldn't mind having a city builder or like a pretty thorough one, but like I know lots of players do not play a game like this for that. So like a very simplistic version using like only water is perfectly fine. Yeah, and I think I get this kind of feeling that they're the main thing that they're concerned about, Gamer, is that to them it's like either nothing or milsim, right? Or they want to do something like, it feels like if they can't do it to a very thorough extent, they don't want to do it at all, maybe? I'm not sure this is the actual, like, their take or not. This is just kind of me theorizing. And like, because of that, they just do not do it, right? But I think there's plenty of spots to having simplistic armor systems that provide a lot of extra contrast to choices you make, right? It doesn't have to be that complicated either. Yeah, but like if they're considering they're doing attachments like Tarkov sort of does, or at least to some extent sort of like Tarkov does, it kind of feels like they're leaning into that like faux milsim sort of style like Tarkov does. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think like trying to make it like an Arma or a Tarkov or like any kind of milsim like type of game is a mistake. I mean, War Thunder should have just. You are LA3. If you're talking about current like. War Thunder should have stopped at the Cold War. The second you started getting smart munitions and like, you know, guided bombs, like I think that's the point where like warfare is no longer fun. If you're trying to be realistic. Are you telling me that tanks don't like getting blown up by... It is like high battle rating War Thunder is a miserable experience. Because naturally, no one's going to ever want to play Warfare fair, right? Because why would you? Cass is overpowered because Cass is overpowered, but like then you have to start bringing in like very like sophisticated anti-air systems too, right? Which means that like it just creates this very weird dynamic. Oh, we had data waves. But like, I think it should have stopped at like maybe the early, like when you get to the point where you have guided bombs, that's probably too far. Guided bombs and probably guided missiles too. Actually, I think guided missiles are fine. I think TV wire ones are fine. I don't know. Fire and forget is probably like my hard, like, God no. I think there's plenty of design space to like to explore in the balance of like, yeah, if a helicopter has to like stand up and like shoot at you from far away with a wire guided missile, that means that they're somewhat vulnerable. Though I generally will say, I generally only really enjoy War Thunder up to like what, like BR around 4-ish. Once you start getting into the like the super heavy tanks of World War II, I kind of like lose interest. And I think the game loses balance too at that point. All right. But like they're freemium, right? They're free to play. You know, pay to skip the grind. And so like they have to make money. Like by necessity, they have to go into like, you know, whatever they can. I mean, I do like earlier Cold War stuff. Like I'll play French up to Cold War. I haven't played in forever though. But like I've done BR around 10 and I think 10 is like absolutely miserable. I do really enjoy like I'm not sure what BR they are now because they constantly get like plus and minus, but I really do enjoy like the 7.7 to 8.3 French tanks, the autoloaders. They're real fucking fun. It's like like bringing like a fully automatic gun to a rifle, a bolt action rifle fight, or sorry, a muzzleloader fight. When you play like what's it called, like not full, like yeah, I think it's realistic battles in War Thunder. It's real fucking fun to bring a French autoloader to fights, because it feels like you're playing arcade when they're not playing arcade. We doing mech trench? Mech trench, yeah. We'll do the classic 3. Yeah, I mean, free to play is, yeah. It's just free to grind. All right. But those for looking for, if people are looking for like a time sink or like a main game, like, that's the nice thing about War Thunder though, is that if you really want to, it can consume all of your time. All right. Hey, Blood. I wouldn't put them in the game. If you ever got to the point where we're putting rocket launchers in the game that can be equipped by players, I would have to consider the context of like how hunter killers respond to players. Considering currently, gamer, the current tuning of hunter killers is if you ever shoot anything with a 20mm once, you get hunter killers. So like, in a way, like if we're trying to make it fair, in proportion to that rocket launchers being insta HKs, is that something you would even want to show the players because of how miserable it would be the game experience? Like, adding a tool to the game like a rocket launcher that has the caveat of insta HKs when you bring it into a map, just like it's kind of like showing players, oh hey, here's this cool toy that you basically can't ever use because it would just cause you to have a miserable experience constantly. Yeah, Mercenary, I don't see us ever getting first person for two reasons. One, because they want to show off character art, like their characters. And two, because generally speaking, when you're in first person, you have a much higher fidelity of animations. And that would require a lot more work for them. Alright, you're off. It's not even that, it's just like, if you're gonna do FPS like that, it's kind of something you just have to lean in from the start, I feel like. Yeah, like the glory of us constantly not paying attention to our characters' animations constantly is a very important thing of making animations feel better. Yeah, it also just too is it's they're artists, they want to see their characters get shown off, sort of thing. The May patch was the first patch where we didn't get a new map, I believe. So, I would say either this coming month or next month, then. The longest we've had to wait for a new map has been 2 months now. And so, that means at most it'll be 2 months from now. Going off historical data, between what and 2 months? They have Michael. But I have not fought Me Man yet. I haven't seen this codex yet. I don't play enough off stream to ever find that, I don't think. So don't expect ever to see a Meat Man video because, yeah. Unless I find some way to cheat and spawn him manually. Yeah. I mean, they've been working on these maps in parallel, I'm pretty sure, Lewis. It's not like, for example, they just put out Babel and they're now doing downtown from scratch. They've been working on these things in parallel. I'm okay with them being rare, it's just that, I don't mind rare enemies like that. It just means you just can't really, yeah, I imagine too, we'll the whole thing right now where things just spawn in the middle of the open, on the floor, is super weird. And I feel like that's just a placeholder because they don't have better ways of doing it for right now. For example, just the chase item of gacha containers just being found on the floor just feels weird.
Remember, we're already dead.
The good old 3 quest still works out pretty well. Hey, Survivor. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could just be placeholder too. Once again, I don't mind just random guns being on the floor, but the gachas and the codexes being on the floor just feels really weird. it once again, like, begs the question of proportionality. It doesn't feel right for the response to doing something that feels just, like, uncared for to be so severe. Like, it doesn't create the situation where you feel like the response you're getting is deserved in any way, shape, or form. Not even that it's harsh. Like, having harsh penalties is one thing, but it feels undeserved. Yeah, the gotchas you find in secured areas like storage rooms, locker rooms, so on and so forth. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You found this book in the middle of the open on the floor, and now a giant meat man's after you. Maybe Survivor. I'm kind of curious how they would ever implement them, just because, like, what maps can probably facilitate a large mech? Granted, there's plenty of spaces outside the maps they could use, and that might be their actual intent. Like, for example, if Big Green's on Mesa, it might not be on the map. It might be outside of the map. It's SVD. I need to buy one. Aramaki, baby, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Sorry, let's me again. Let's use you. What do you do? Just change recoil? Perfect. Alright, 54R, which I'm sure I have plenty of. Yeah. Not that many, though. That's good enough. Bring some meds, vendors, Heisenberg. Give me your stuff. And then, what else? Jump, and I believe we're good. We have Sniper Sweep, Tormentor's Trail, and then just leave the map. No, Rat King is just a medium mech. Rat King is basically just like, he is basically just a bog standard Europa medium mech with just a slightly different skin. Yeah, Mercenary, like a few of like the very generic items like explosives you can just turn in perpetually. So yeah, just quest by quest. Depends. Yeah, Sarah, that's a weird thing too with grenade, like medium, like I think that just might be a bug with the medium mechs and why armor needs to be included, right? Or armor needs to be like a simplest version of armor, right? Because it feels weird when grenade launchers kill mechs. I mean, who would though, Reiji? Why would anyone worship that false idol? That it's just a reskin medium mech. Hold on. So yeah, what, like 8 bullets with an SVD knocked off its pauldron? Another 10 rounds knocked off its god. Hold still. Stop that. Oh, it's entirely stripped. Sorry, it's when we're gone. But like in the span of like 40 bullets, I have stripped the medium mech of its pauldron, apparently its arm, its rear gun. It's a little minigun on its corp or torso, but that's about it right now. I'm sure that's a bug, but like with a system like armor, that would never happen, even if it had like a bugged HP value. And I think these guys, these medium mechs, have none of that currently. I don't think they can drop their gun. Alright, where was I? I don't see the sniper over there. Tormentor would be down below us, might be already dead. Oh, no, oh god. I'm okay, I'm okay. I think the slope broke my fall. I didn't actually heal at all during that. I think the slope did break my fall. Game shift. About an hour and a half. The world's kind of slope. I mean, like, a big problem too, I probably need to raise this to them also. Both the mechs, like, all of the mechs have problems just, like, aiming and pointing their guns, right? Which is a big reason why they're such a joke. Like, imagine if we shot the mech there and just panned up and immediately obliterated us, right? Like, that's kind of how I view it should happen, right? Especially with its basically its Gatling gun on its back. Like, it feels like those mechs should just be able to point up and immediately murder you. I hate the hand so much. And like, okay, so for example, too, bear with me. Like, I know this is like lightly guarded, but like, for example, this being unguarded here, like this whole thing just to turn off this radar tower, like it feels like this should be guarded in some capacity, right? Like, if I can shut off drones for, like, an entire area by turning that off, you think it'd be guarding it. I guess they could be distracted, but still. Yeah, it just needs some, like, attack, right? Hey, stop that. Okay. No, actually, no, Spamurai, I actually do... There's probably some overlap, but I do think they have 3 primary artists, and 1 artist is in charge of most factions. So, like, it's not entirely siloed, because they are working together, but, like, I think it's actually fairly siloed. Like, it is separate artists working on separate things. Or different factions, right? And I don't want to say it's as black and white as that, but, like, there's to a degree. Dust, no, I don't think so. The events like that only affect us, like, the map itself and maybe, like, one of the map nearby. Like, for example, I think this map mainly affects itself in Scorched Enclave, if I recall. Not Scorched, but, Scrapyard, I believe. Though, if you have the radar towers active, it will actually tell you what maps are under its effect. Please be 1 and not 3. I think this is 3. I made a mistake. Yeah, Mike, that's a good way of putting it. It's like, yeah, an artist in charge of each vibe. Yep, that's 3. They kind of mercenary, weirdly enough, like, they already feel like, I know there's certain weapons that have spread, like the mech and stuff like that, but like, I do feel like most of the infantry in this game is already pretty freaking accurate, and most enemies are pretty accurate, right? Like, tell me, I can tell you right now, the drones are insanely accurate in this game. I actually, in a way, I would love to try a build of the game where the accuracy of, like, more chaff-like enemies, and maybe just most enemies, is actually, like, taken down on peg. but like lethality is increased, right? So like imagine this. Imagine you have like 10 year opens 100 meters away. They're going to miss most shots, so you're gonna have like this flurry of bullets around you, but the shots that do hit are going to hurt a lot. So it actually makes CQB very deadly, which it should be, right? Because they're not gonna miss as much as in CQB, right? But no, like, I feel like if they're trying to go for the aesthetic vibe of just like lots of tracers going around, having enemies be inaccurate and shooting across the map would look a lot cooler, right? It would also help like increase the time enemies are alive, just because enemies are missing a lot more, and because of that they don't respawn as often, right? So now I'm very much on the whole, oh, I gotcha, on the whole make enemies more inaccurate, but like make them deadlier. Not insta-kill. And weirdly enough, like, okay, if you compare stormtroopers to like any current day military in a military setting, that's not like a aiming trial, like actual like combat statistics, stormtroopers are pretty accurate. Like, keep in mind, like, what is the there's a metric, right, for how many bullets fired for like per kill in like Vietnam, and it's insanely high. Like, it's thousands and like, it was like 100,000 bullets per kill in Vietnam or something like that. Someone go pull me up the metric. I can't be bothered to pull it up right now. But there's a metric from like the Vietnam War, right, where it was like it took this many bullets to get one confirmed kill, and it's an insane number. Like, by and large, most times when people are shooting, it's like suppressing fire or just, you know, not to kill. Leave me alone. See my point? Drones, fuck off. Oh no, it's spam. Well, yeah, that would probably be accuracy things, right? I love the 50 cal scar, but I do agree with you, right? It should be much more uncontrollable. Michael, exactly, right? So like between 50k and 300k per like bullets, like a bullet for one kill, guys, one kill. So like, yeah, it's a lot. Like, soldiers, when they're fighting and, you know, trying to stay alive, do not do a good job of, you know, using bullets to kill very effectively. I'm not saying it needs to be that in this game, but just like literally toning down the accuracy for so fights are longer. There's more like bullet tracers going around. Like, that looks cool, right? Imagine if they were slightly less accurate and the fights were going on longer and there's more tracers in the air. I mean, ammunition's just expensive though, right? When you start getting to like even military grade ammunition of like just 5.56, you start getting to like 50 cents, $1 a round. And don't even get started about spicy ammunition too. Yeah, I don't think that like the tuning should ever be like enemies, like bulk enemies or chaff enemies should one-shot you, but like I would kind of need to sit down and actually, like I would definitely, it's something I would definitely feel out, right? Like the way I would do it is I would just go to a gray box with enemies like at certain ranges, and I would get a feel for like their general time to kill at certain ranges, right? And how impactful each shot feels like, depending on the weapon they're using, right? It would probably be a good idea to get a metric right of like figuring out what the normal engagement distance in this game is. Oh, John, oh yeah, I don't think any of us are like saying that like, you know, infantry are doing a bad job by being inaccurate, right? Because like, unlike a video game, right, it's not weird for soldiers to not want to throw their life away. Hey, Nasco. But like, you know, like it right now the game I think has a problem with a lot of rounds feeling fairly anemic in contrast to what they're shooting. And one way of I think balancing that and like making rounds much more lethal and useful is making them much harder to handle, right? Through various means, or just through economy too, not just through handling. Where are my opals at? That was 3. Oh my god, none of them died. It's amazing. Don't shoot, no, shoot it, shoot it. The mech's not me. Okay, yeah, this is definitely an instance though where it feels like these guys should die to the medium mech. What the hell is going on? It just does not care. Oh, hey, hey, I'm watching over here. Anyway. Yeah, opals are unkillable, to my knowledge. You can still railgun them, but like, otherwise they're unkillable. So like eventually these 3 medium mechs will lose the fight. I'm not sure how like, I'm kind of like what's the, I'm curious why it's not attacking so much. Is this trying to melee? I believe in you, you'll get there eventually. But yeah, this is definitely an instance, right, where you like, the unkillable nature of enemies is not doing itself any favors, right? Because it feels like the medium mech should be able to kill the opals. Or if the opals are actually good enough to kill the medium mechs, to do it through speed and agility, which is what they're not doing right now. Interestingly enough, too, a lot of games that have issues like this, they'll actually... Am I getting shot at? Will do things on purpose to make, like, if these units ever get close to each other, they would have, like, a sync kill to, like, make sure the fight ends there before this goes into full effect, right? To make sure the illusion's not broken, they'll, like, have a triggered event or, like, a synced event that, like, these guys will not coexist that close together. All right, well, he's just walking away. He's done. That's fair. %, fair. Also, want to see. I want to see these guns. Want to be active so bad. God, more drones. That was pretty successful, except for the fact that we didn't see the sniper or tormentor. Without getting caught, it's not a great term to use for that. I definitely think I got caught a few times, but I just, you know, rolled with the punches. All right, we've done mech trench, we haven't done scrapyard yet. Good old bag man. How am I on stuff? Not great. Bring a painless in. I actually did really like, by the way, there was like a brief patch window where we could actually equip 2 of the same gun. And I'm actually, as long as it counted as 2 quantities, I'm actually like really okay with that, right? Like if a player wants to bring in 2 painlesses, sure, why not? You won't ever be able to reload, but you're certainly free to do that. But no, if I go over to Mesa now, you can see here, drone operations have been compromised due to your open radar failure in Action Mesa. That was me activating the little thing inside the beneath the radar tower. That was unguarded, by the way, unguarded. Yeah, I'm not sure if it ever should be non-hostile, but definitely a lot more leeway, right? Having rep matter more is nice, but I think it's not like, should it really get to the point, mercenary, where you're allowed to be friendly to all factions, the point where you can just walk around and as long as you're like not being seen, you can do whatever the fuck you want? Yeah, you know, good old artillery barrages, Michael. Hold on, fixing something real quick, and we're good. All right.
Let's roll out. Got
Yeah, good old morale damage. So derpy. I think weirdly enough, like a state 2 where like they get slowed down, it feels weird right now. It's painless, so it's fine, right? How like the cyborgs get staggered. I think having just like a slightly less staggered state would be actually really useful. A slowdown state, but like not, yeah, but not full staggered. I mean, do you want to contextualize the state your weapon's in to like enemy AI? I don't know. It just, well, conceptually it doesn't sound bad to me, Dust. Like the mentally where I go with it is this, right? You just start seeing like stealth backpack scav girl with a weapon holstered running around at Mach 1, just like running by everything. Like, would that even be a good play pattern to reinforce or something like that? I don't think we need another knockdown, Michael, considering people don't already like the current knockdown. Hey, Zero. It's fine. It's good. If you like extraction shooters, if you like kind of grimdark settings, it's good. It's very early access. If you're expecting a full game, hold off. But like, if you just want to like kind of play around in the sandbox and then kind of see cool units and enemies fight, and then you know, collect loot, it's good enough. Like, the biggest thing I'll probably like see people like, you know, hark on is like there's not really progression or balancing the game currently. So it's really just like almost like a test branch for the main game. No PvP at all. It's a small indie game and studio, right? So like having to do anti-cheat support would put it into the ground. Just go look at Marauders. Small indie extraction shooter plus PvP does not go together. It's begging for so many issues. It's not shut down, but it's in like the devs are working on it, but nothing's being said about it for the longest time. Like, it's been in kind of like hibernation for like a year now, and its player base is absolutely just, what the fuck are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here.
Bagging it up.
Huh. That's new. No, but like Marauders is like less, like it's like 20 to 30 holdouts, I think. But like anytime like Marauders blows up temporarily, at least in the past, it immediately has a cheating issue again. Not to mention its gameplay loops are just not very good, to be honest. It's got so many like structural design issues, and which is maybe why they're like, if they are truly still working on it, they're really in the tank and probably redoing lots of different things. They might have realized that like trying to keep up a live service game while developing the game is just too much work. I mean, Michael, it sounds like you want Thief, which I already kind of told you that they're not going to make. I think you can get to the point where you can contextualize enemy awareness with like an audio heat map for like how busy things are. But if you're going to the point where you're doing like lights and shadows and stuff like that, you're kind of the point where you're like making a Thief game, right? Which I already kind of said they're not going to do. You can find ways of rewarding stealth, but yeah, never to that level of granularity. Yeah, Beta Decay is another game similar in this vein, right? Where it's gonna be another PvE. I'm not even sure, but I think he said he's actually doing a stretch goal now of multiplayer, like co-op multiplayer. But he had to delay the game, I think, to December for that reason, right? For early access, if I recall correctly. But I've played the playtest for Beta Decay. It's good. It's like. It once again, in the current iteration of its build, is a game where it's just like a testing of features, right? It's not a cohesive game yet. But Beta Decay is good. The gunplay is pretty solid thus far. Very stylized. Considering it's mainly just a solo dev, though, I'm really curious how much you can actually do.
A damn close call on a day of close calls.
So the problem with PvP in the current day and age, Zero, is so many people are more interested in being good or being at the top of a leaderboard, or just like being renowned for being good at the game, regardless of the cost. And this is not like an everyone cheats sort of spiel. It's more of enough people are interested in it where it becomes a decent enough portion of the population where you will encounter them on a somewhat regular basis. And because of that, it just sparks your own paranoia about everyone. Like, for example, when Goat's Tarkov video came out, right, about the wiggle, like, you know, he kind of showed that there's a good chance in every single one of your lobbies you're gonna probably, or like, you're gonna find a cheater likely in one of your lobbies almost consistently, right? Will you actually encounter them in raid? Probably not, because they're more interested in like RMT or something like that. They're not gonna, if you're not a juiced fucking Chad, they're not gonna come loot you because they don't give a shit. You're not worth their time. But like, knowing how prevalent that is just makes you like very, it's hard to, when you're playing a competitive game, when there's always that doubt in the back of your mind of, is it because I'm not good enough and I need to work on something, or is it because like the person I'm playing against isn't being honest? There's not integrity in the game, which is an issue for a lot of games, right? Especially considering too, like, the business of cheating is so big now that like there are plenty of players who will invest in a secondary PC and hardware cheats to cheat and not be detected, right? Oh, hey, is that person who's good on online but not at LAN, are they legit, or they didn't bring their cheats with them at LAN because they were scared of getting caught? And then you have the people who actually will bring cheats to LAN too, and not get caught because they're you know, they're so thorough nowadays. And the problem with Tarkov is because of RMT too, right? Like, there's always gonna be the cheaters who want to be better than you, but like when there's actually money in cheating too, just like look at every MMO, right? With gold, like gold selling and farming gold, the second you provide a financial incentive, like, it gets even worse, right? Because it's no longer just cheating to be good, it's cheating to like make financial gain. And like MMOs have shown, right, like if there's any way someone can eke out financial gain in your video game, they're going to do it, whether it's humans doing it or, you know, humans hiring or having bots do it, right? 100% Togata. I mean, like, yeah, like any game, right, or any game with a dedicated anti-cheat team. And not even that, it's like it's a losing proposition until there's basically AI heuristics to detect cheaters or detect abnormal patterns. It's a losing proposition for any game to do too much to it, right? You're not gonna win that battle. Weirdly enough, like, consoles actually have it good. And I'm not saying consoles are immune to cheaters, but having that more locked down ecosystem does help. I am by no means saying that cheaters are immune, or, you know, consoles are immune from cheaters, just that they're usually a bit more, because they're not as easy to do as PC, it's not as often. But having like a lockdown ecosystem like that is kind of nice in my mind. Because like, for me, like, for example, if I played Counter-Strike in a very closed off environment where I knew that when I lost to someone, it was because they're better than me, I come from it from a much better understanding or like perspective, right? It's like, sense like, okay, I have shortcomings I need to address, right? Like, I need to figure out like why they're beating me in such ways. Like, what do I need to do to mitigate it? Like, what are my deficits in skill, right? As opposed to, well, they have ESP, they know I'm coming, like I can't be stealthy or more like ratty than I'm currently playing as. It has become incentivized. It's like it's been incentivized for a long time too, but like the whole flea market and RMT, and there was RMT in Tarkov before the flea market, but with the flea market it blew up because it was much easier to do, right? And to be fair, like unless you entirely lock down player-to-player trading, there's always going to be RMT. Weirdly enough, Star Citizen has had a recent breakout with cheaters too. Like cheaters that actually have the ability to like basically entirely can servers with thousands of players in it, right? And thankfully, like Star Citizen had this really weird issue for the longest time too, where they would not give out permabans, they would only give out temp bans. So like say for example, they would ban you for a patch, right? So you couldn't come back in the next patch. Because they never wanted to like set the precedence that like they're going to ban people who put money into their game, right? Because like if you buy a $500 JPEG on Star Citizen, if you get banned, that $500 is gone, man. You can maybe ask for a refund, but I doubt they would give it to you. You could go farther, I guess, if you really wanted to, but you know, that's a different thing entirely. But like this is their first instance where like Star Citizen is actually going far enough and like, hey, if you cheat and cause misery to other players on an account, we're going to ban your account permanently. I don't think Star Citizen will ever be done now. They'll go to 1.0 because they'll have to a name eventually, but it will never be done. Even if they stop development on the game, it will never be done. Because it's a Chris Roberts game. It can't ever be done. Essentially, you know how we were talking about tiered reloads before, and how like a studio like this can't really accommodate that in the game they're currently making because you know time, resources, and money. Chris Roberts is the type of guy to basically say like, give me a blank check and I will do all of that. And essentially that's what players have done, right? Is given him a blank check. And this is coming from a player who actually enjoys Star Citizen to some extent. I do enjoy it occasionally. Chris Roberts should never be in charge of like the features in a game. He's a great ideas guy, but he should not be in charge of the yes and no's finally, because he can't say no to anything. He wants it all. I enjoy Blood Panda. Now, I will say, like, I overall enjoy it. I enjoy its vision too, right? I ultimately think, like, it's kind of sort of like a Concord issue, I feel like. At least to my knowledge, where, like, they spent so many years dawdling and not figuring out how to make a game and just dicking around that when it came time to actually make a game they needed to ship, they kind of felt rushed. Like, considering how long Concord was in development for, like, it had to go through so many reworks for what they had, right? Because they didn't have that much for 8 years. Star Citizen's the same way, right? Where like they have done so many reworks of the same systems and iterations of the same systems that like they've wasted a lot of time. See, I'm kind of the same way. I'm not really like the exact same type of genres as you, but like I do generally just stick to a few genres now and not go too far outside. And it's more of just interest too, right? Lots of games nowadays aren't really like doing lots of things innovatively, and that's really where my interests are, right? Like if I see a cool indie game doing something unique and cool, I'll probably entertain the thought of it, like actually buying it. But when I see a AAA game that does just all it does is does something that's already been done very, very polished way, I'm kind of done with that, right? It doesn't interest me. I've already played thousands of COD, or hundreds of CODs, right? I don't need to play another like single player or like, you know, single player with multiplayer shooter with a story. I mean, here's the thing though, Michael. Some people do just like that type of entertainment, right? And that's perfectly fine. Like if you enjoy Call of Duty games and you really like playing like your FPS story plus FPS multiplayer, that's perfectly fine and well. It's just not for me. Star Citizen is wild because, like, the problem is ultimately this, Blood Panda, sort of like this game, where they'll put a system into the game, but the supporting systems they'll put into a very placeholder capacity, to the point where, like, they have these grand designs, Blood, but they have to take the grand designs one problem at a time. But they're doing that while they have a game out exposed to players. And so if they add something in, like a piece of content, right, and the piece of content has issues with people being assholes, well, they haven't worked on the law system at all, right? And so the punishments for those players who are acting like giant douches, like, aren't there, right? But, like, you can only build up the scaffolding for so long before, like, players want some of the actual building to be made, right? And that's kind of the issue right now, is they're having to make the building for the players who want the building, but the scaffolding's not built yet. And that is on them, by the way. Like, that's 100% on our side for being slow as fucking shit and reworking systems over and over again, right? And changing their ideas over and over again. Baldur's Gate? Like, I played 3. I didn't play the earlier ones, to be honest. I'm not generally too into CRPGs. But I did enjoy Baldur's Gate 3. I only played it, like, I think once through, though.
We're already dead.
I know some people have been grinding that game continually. I was like, I played it once through, and I was, you know, that's a good game. I enjoyed it. But no, it takes me a while to get into CRPGs. I'm not sure if it should ever be pinning, per se. If you're referring to, like, the extra state for slowing down enemies, it's more of, like, think of right now when you shoot cyborgs and they get staggered. Instead of them getting staggered, imagine if they just got slowed down, right, because of the aim punch or the tagging, right? It's more of that. It's not like going from like 100% to 25 or 100% to 50. It's more like 100% to 75%, right? It's just a small little slow to make you feel like something's happening, right? Like, see, if I'm running across the room right now, like, if I'm getting shot, it can be hard to tell sometimes when I'm taking damage, right? But the actual process of being slowed ever so slightly can help, like, inform the user of, like, hey, they're getting hit, without having, like, the extra work of, like, say, the actual model responding to where the bullet impacts. No. No, like BG3 is Baldur's Gate 3 is like one of those games, right, where it's like it does do a good job of, like, for people who typically aren't into certain genres of games, it's well done enough to the point where, like, you'll enjoy it. Like, I would not call myself a CRPG enthusiast, but, like, Baldur's Gate 3 is done well enough where, like, yeah, it's a great game. Old man. We haven't done the cemetery yet, I guess, actually. It's the only map we have not done yet. Which probably means, actually, Stealth Girl. Good there. And cemetery. Hopefully we spawn at the right door. So once again, for people while I'm loading the game, who have not done this yet, I would really appreciate it if you filled out this survey. If you play the game, that is. It's regarding basically the current water system in the game and kind of the void that might have been left from its removal, right? Short little survey. It's like 3 questions plus 1 open-ended. You don't have to fill out the last one if you don't want to. It's purely optional, but it would be helpful. I'm trying to get to a big enough sample size where I can actually, you know, analyze the data. I would like to get it on the main Discord eventually, but like I have to go ask people to let me do that first. So I in a way, I do think too, just having polls like this, like questions of the week. I know they don't have a community manager anymore, but like it does kind of help, I think, engagement with the audience. Where even if you are busy doing other things, it does make you feel like you're like they're listening. Oh well, yeah, PoE is an ARPG, right? It's not the type of game as BG3. Like PoE is like Diablo. It's not. They're not related at all. Like one's like a real-time strategy. One's like a turn-based strategy, right? You can technically play, I think, Baldur's Gate 3 as like real-time, but like no. See ya, Delta. Like PoE is for like your goal in PoE is eventually to have a power fantasy, right? Of just like melting entire screens of monsters. Baldur's Gate 3 is more of like methodical and like story driven and tactical, right? That's not to say there isn't like choices and tactics in Path of Exile, right? But it's more about your build as opposed to choices you make. Also, Path of Exile is complicated too, especially as a newcomer. Like, Path of Exile does a terrible job on boarding players. You have to go look at guides early on. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is a D&D game, so yes, it's literally D&D and virtual. Like it's yeah, it's basically 5e. It's been gamified to an extent, right? There's a few changes made for the game's sake, but like, yeah. Like, Baldur's Gate, I mean, the original Baldur's Gate, it's a setting in D&D. It's in Forgotten Realms. So yeah, Baldur's Gate is literally a D&D game. Path of Exile is an RPG like Diablo. Alright, we've reached villains, we have our book. Are we trying to do the towers? We'll see if this is 2 or 3. Yeah, Zero, I do just, yeah, AAA games are not too interesting for me anymore. And even like games that I've explored, like regardless of the drama of Subnautica, right? I don't think I would probably have bought into Subnautica 2, right? Because I played Subnautica 1, I really enjoyed Subnautica 1. But I'm not really interested in like playing more Subnautica. I've experienced that game. It was a really cool experience. But like, I don't want more of the same. I want novel. It's kind of why Geo, like, I don't want to say I wouldn't get back into a competitive scene for a game, but it's more of just like all the competitive games that are out are kind of just like the same as they've always ever been. You have your arena shooter, you have your battle royale, and then you have your your round shooter, however you want to call that. All right, where is Dog? I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 would probably scratch that itch for you pretty well. I mean, it basically has a narrator via the, it basically has a DM through the narrator, right? So, like, I think if you're on the fence of getting BG3, I think you'll enjoy BG3 a lot, especially if you're looking for a D&D experience. It should emulate for that for you pretty well. I'm not sure if I can get this or not. Actually, one-on-one's leaving. This is really dumb of me to do. Alright, we're good. But no, if you're looking for a D&D scratch, Baldur's Gate 3 will probably provide that to you. I hate this area so much. Like, there's like a few lips around here, makes it really hard to get up this. And it makes it tedious. Without it looking tedious. I haven't actually gotten like Marvel Rivals just looked like it looked like basically like Overwatch but Marvel themed, right? In a very simplistic way of putting it.
Another day, another dollar.
I guess we got seen? Oh well. I'll take 2 out of 3. Yeah, I'm not really sure if they were trying to hide that too, Michael. I kind of just felt like that constantly. Alright, Babel. Babel's a map too where it definitely feels like you have to bring a gun, right? Or like more like ammo. Like I could bring the tiny backpack, but like it feels like a map that wants jump, but also wants you to bring meds and ammo in a decent quantity to fight things off with. Not that I have found Fruit Par. I looked around, I think a couple months ago, or maybe a month ago, when it first came out, and I didn't find one there. So I don't believe so. I mean, let's be honest here though. AAA games like that are like, you know, highly pushed games like that marketing wise, they're always going to be reskins of other games. Publishers and companies like that don't want to risk money on tried, you know, game designs. Especially considering they all saw Concord and they're like, fuck that. Though granted, Concord was trying to be a hero shooter too. In a way, I'm kind of curious how much of like Concord's failures was like Sony being like, hey, you need to make a hero shooter. Wasn't like there like an interview with like a Concord dev, or I think one of them came out and said like it wasn't supposed to be like that type of game originally, but like they got pushed by Sony execs to make it more like Overwatch. I'm not sure how true that is. I am like recalling from memory, so I'm not sure how much of what I just said was projection or not. Which is also like a great reason why, like, for example, these devs Vundog doesn't have a publisher. They're self-published because if they get publisher money, that means they also lose control of certain elements of their game, right? They would have to inject DLCs or like cash grabs or just other predatory things. Or like change the game, how the game works functionally because of, you know, publisher mandates. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it copy and paste considering I spent them 8 years. I would say it's more indicative of how publishers might not be interested in novel ideas and force, you know, game companies to actually do things they don't want to do. Hey, Agent. Like, if you really... I mean, sell what sells too, but if you really want examples of cash grabs, the way you do it is you make your game free and then you look for the whales. You go whale hunting, right? Just look at Magic the Gathering, right? Like, that's what monetization looks like. Have you guys seen fucking Final Fantasy? My god. You have basically collector's boosters going for like $100 a pack now, which is actually crazy. I haven't played Magic in fucking like a decade, I think, but like still, it's just been ever since they started doing Universes Beyond, it's just been this like this larger and larger cash grab over time. I'm doing well, Legend. How are you doing? Kind of playing around. I'm glad the streams are holding up actually perfectly fine. I'm on a fraction of what I used to have, so like it's nice to see that everything's working perfectly fine. Yeah, Gary, there is no in between. Absolutely no in between. Oh, the new map is fucking beautiful, right? I don't think I can get across there, right? I'd have to have a jump for this, I think. Wait, what? Huh. No, I can never fault Fun Dog's maps for the aesthetics, right? They always look so thoroughly good. And now, I think the biggest thing I want to change is, like, I've critiqued maps for being small before. I think I want to change the way I describe that, though, is not small in the sense of, like, play area, but more small in the sense of depth, right? Like, you can have small maps that are jam-packed full of density and, like, you know, movement, and, like, that have a relatively small footprint. But, like, this is not that scenario, right? Where, like, what the hell? As I'm moving across the map, I'm finding, like, you know, these miscellaneous rooms here and there of loot, but, like, that doesn't feel of any consequence, right? Like, I want to see, like, okay, so cool, like, you know, behind this little, like, let's say we go over here, right? You know, maybe, like, Europa, like, emptied out a few of these shanties and has a stockpile room there that they're guarding as a resupply area, right? Like, almost like the maps kind of want attachments to them that facilitate, like, areas of varying risks, right? Like, oh cool, I come to this map and I just run around and loot containers in the open, as opposed to, like, I come to this map and infiltrate the you know, the Europa stockpile to, like, steal, like, some weapon, right? Or say, for example, like, they've turned an area of this map into, like, a makeshift hangar for, like, you know, a drone fleet. I mean, yeah, like, small supply depots, like, locked rooms, like, the interior of buildings, right? It doesn't have to be big areas, it just needs to have areas that just, like, feel like they have a purpose, right? Maybe you find, like, a makeshift, like, you go to a room and it's like, this time as opposed to being a depot, it's a makeshift bed area, right, for sleeping soldiers. And naturally they're not in the beds right now, but, like, maybe you can find personal belongings there, like mementos and shit. Like, basically, like, attaching modular room to, like, areas of this map and have those change depending on context. I didn't activate that, did I? I did not. I have to go back up. In a way, yeah. Like sorta, kinda, yeah. I think you can hide them a lot better considering it's not open world like Skyrim is, but yeah. And like you can clue in players too on like what those rooms kind of are by the guards around them, or what, you know, what's happening around them. No. Why are there so many fucking drones? Am I alive? Sir, I'm waiting. Sir? Didn't it crush me? Nah, I'm not close enough to it. Not early. No idea. I think I've heard them play the sound a lot before, but maybe not. I have no idea if they made that rule. I think that rule is only for the grabber, but it might be for drones too. Oh, for sure, Gary. Yeah. I mean, the actual like the view is really good. I would love to see like. My big ask now, too, is just, like, seeing stuff happening off in the distance, right? Like, imagine seeing, like, fights happen between those skyscrapers. Like, distant tracers and stuff like that. Like, right now, I will say, like, the conflicts always feel, like, considering how utterly fucking busy every map is, combat-wise, you feel like you would be hearing fights across the city everywhere, right? And, like, you would be seeing fights off in the distance constantly. All right. Let's do some swamp again. And some water thieves too. Yeah, giant mechs in the city would be cool too. Seeing Big Green fighting like a titan off in the distance. Oh, right, yeah, right now there's not like, there's only very subtle ambient sound effects in the game currently, yeah. I mean, naturally too, like, I think they can cheat a lot too, right? They don't need to do, like, it doesn't need to be Warhammer, right? Like, Warhammer has an entire system built out to have those battles, like, off in the distance. I think it's important, just like kind of the Milsim argument, like, it doesn't need to be that level of fidelity and that level of, like, scale, right? It can be just tracers off the distance. It can be, like, you know, 1 or 2 sprites off in the distance, right? It doesn't have to be these, like, low poly but 3D modeled things off fighting in the distance, right? There doesn't need to be, like, hundreds of them fighting. It's perfectly fine just to have a few, like, mechs fighting and then tracers going on, right? I'm perfectly happy with the illusion. It doesn't have to be real. I'm using the shotgun like every single run. Let's go use a pistol. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is a mistake. Yeah, you could probably just do a lot via sound effects, right? Yeah, smoke, fog. Well, currently blood, right? And like, it could be too that they just don't want to like put half-baked air units in the game too, but like you can put in sprites fighting a lot easier than I think you can actually fully. Adding a model that like plays out a certain, like adding sprites that do things is a lot different than adding like a 3D model and that actually flies around and does stuff, right? I feel like. I imagine this pistol's gonna feel fucking awful versus these guys, but I'm gonna find out. Oh god, I forgot how pistols are on this game. It's so weird how pistols are like the one thing with actual recoil in the game. But like, not like recoil that you can control, it's just like weird recoil that just like jumps the muzzle up a lot if you don't reset it. Hold on. I'll show you what I mean. Like, you see what's happening right now? The like, where I'm aiming and like where the muzzle's actually pointing to and shooting are entirely different things. And that's fair too. That's perfectly fair too, Michael, if you just want to do low rendered, like low poly stuff also. I'm not sure how. I don't know how Nanite does that. So I know Nanite scales LODs down depending on distance, but I'm not even sure if you would even want to rely on Nanite for that, right? You could probably just add like a low poly model that's outside of Nanite too. But yeah. We're just a low poly LOD. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how Nanite plays with that at all. For those unfamiliar, Nanite is you have to flag to ignore it. Okay. On the unit spawn. For those unfamiliar, basically Nanite is like dynamic LOD. It essentially allows games to use like high fidelity models and have the LODs for those models scale dynamically depending on the player's distance to those models. So as opposed to having to have like 3, 4, 5 different models depending on how far the player is away from a model, it just does that dynamically, which saves lots of time. The cost of Nanite isn't performance. The cost of Nanite, if it's implemented properly, right? The cost of Nanite is storage. Because you're storing higher fidelity models, it means that you are storing a lot more locally in your machine. If you're wondering why the game is 100 gigs, you can blame Nanite for that. That is a fair reason to blame Nanite. Now, personally, I think storage space is pretty cheap nowadays, but still, I can understand that. Especially for those with slower download speeds. Yeah, like without like all of the quality of life features of UE5, I doubt a game like this gets made. I don't know, Michael. I mean, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, I wouldn't say quality of models is really, like, the downside of Nanite, right? Like, if you're saying well-done LODs are better than Nanite, then sure, but, like, if we're spending hundreds of hours per model to do all the LODs for it, like, is that a really fair comparison? That's like, you're spending a lot of time on those LODs. Well, 100% you still have to optimize, right? That's every game. Whenever you have a generic engine that you're going to make use for your game, you're going to have to optimize it, right, for your use case. That's just a given. You know how, like, for example, how big games will get drivers pushed out for their game because NVIDIA will help them? Yeah, like indie games don't have that. They have to bend their own game to make sure it works. You're not gonna get bespoke drivers for your indie game, sorry. I mean, Michael, your hyperbole is noted, yeah. At the same time, nanite is one of those things, right, where they recommend that when you use nanite, you use it for everything because it's more performative when you use it for everything. And that was a big issue with their early UE5, right? Is they said, like, use nanite for everything before you could use nanite for everything. Like, that was probably one of the bigger issues with Stalker 2, right? Is Stalker 2 was in UE5 before UE5 had full support, really, right? With all its feature sets. Any containers? I mean, it is an easy solution to getting high fidelity models aged 100%. There are reasons why mega scans are very popular. Because they look good. And all they cost is gigabytes of storage space per raw file. Per model. Yeah, you see that rock there? That raw file is about like 4 gigs. Don't worry about it. You'll never see the actual raw file polygons because it would melt your machine, but it's got that many polygons. That was the issue back in the day, for example, too. The people who were like talking about how what was it, Toothy had like what 30 million polygons, but they were looking at the nanite mesh, so like they were seeing basically the raw file of that mesh. And the thing is too, right? It could have been like a raw like model, and like nanite will give it more polygons that it was made with, because that's how nanite works, and it will scale those down. Just because something like a nanite mesh will have like 30 million polygons, you will never see anywhere close to a fraction of that many polygons on it. It just has all of those for reference. That was a bigger things. Oh, I mean, like, oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, some games still do that, right? Where they'll have like lower texture packs. Like, that was a big thing back in like the 2010 eras, right? With like OG Skyrim and stuff. Where like there was such a difference in between like enthusiasts, like there's a large difference between the previous console gens and PC gens that like they would give you optional like HD texture packs. All right, I'm out of M4 ammo. I think it's time to leave. I said I think it's time to leave, not shoot me. Oh. He's still shooting. What the hell? My God. Yeah, technically speaking, you should only be able to stealth kill when they're unaware of you, but I mean, that worked. Beautiful, Michael. I mean, like, if you have a 50 million polygon ship, why are you not going to use it? I mean, I'm still of the opinion that it's essentially like a status quo war. I don't think the front lines move in any real capacity. They're front lines that, like, if they ever get to the point where they're, like, clearly lost from one faction, the other faction doesn't know what to do other than hold their position, right? So say, for example, if, like, Eurasia and Eruska won this fight here and then took Los Angeles, took this, like, say, for example, if they won this, like, this map that we have and they want, like, they control every single zone, I don't think they know where to go from there, right? I mean, bless the people's hearts who do community wikis, but at the same time, they are the emphasis of why you don't always trust Wikipedias. No, no, I'm stuck on a wall. What the hell is this? I'm safe here. You can't get to me. I'm one with the vines. How the fuck did I get here? I'll kill you eventually, don't you worry. Fuck, I'm out of ammo. Leave me alone. I don't consent, you can't do this. I'll take 2 out of 3. No, I mean, not anymore in game. It can be both. It can be both. It's entirely context dependent, like all good insults are. Or like half insults are. Like, bless your heart could be used in the sense of like, that's so sweet. Or bless your heart could be in the sense of like, you're daft. Like, bless you heart, but you're stupid. It's entirely context dependent, and that's why it's like, you can use it in casual conversation, and like 2 different people can like get different understandings of what you're saying by saying bless your heart. It's like a polite way of potentially doing an insult, essentially. But it doesn't always mean it's an insult though, too, though. In a way, you could also view it as being like slightly patronizing also, but yeah, it's entirely context dependent. It can just be as simple as like, that's so sweet. Yeah, annotation's important too. Yeah, 100%. Typically speaking, like, yeah, if people are singing to you and they don't really know you and like you're just being normal, bless your heart just mean like, that's so sweet, that's being, you're being considerate. Like, yeah, bless your heart. But like, bless your heart can also mean like, bless your heart, but you're stupid as shit. Like, it's for the meaner implications, it generally means someone's being very daft. Or basically being very dumb or unaware. Oh yeah, there's a guy with like a thing on his head, right? Someone you can like talk to. Is he over here? I can't remember where he is. Are you blind, sir? Wait, hold on a second here. This guy's blind. Wait, no, he's cross-eyed. This brother's cross-eyed. You can see his eyes, I think. No, it looks like his eyes are like very narrow slits, but his eyes are like, his pupils are like pointed toward his nose. All right, enough about scav life. Oh, it reminds me of Game Shift. I went to Ireland one time. It was a while ago, and we were like in rural Ireland, and we went to a pub, and this like nice, I'm presuming nice old man was talking to me, and like all I could do was shake my head and nod, because he was speaking English apparently. I could not understand a single fucking word he said. And it was like incredibly awkward because I was like, what the fuck is he saying the entire time? Like, it was to the point where I wouldn't even call it English anymore. I don't think the Scots are as bad as that. Like, the Scots have a lot of slang. The problem with Scots is they have a lot of slang, right? And sure, they do have like an accent too, but I think for them it's mainly the slang that throws you up. With like the person I was talking about in Ireland, like I'm sure they were speaking normal English words, like not slang to me, but it was just incomprehensible. All right, time to get an HK and a shot or two. Let's go back to a shotgun. I do think, okay, I will say this. I do like how shotguns are effective versus cyborgs, and like that's like the go-to is like, go kill cyborgs with your shotguns. I do hope there's more interesting elements added to other guns, because like right now it's just like always have a shotgun on your offhand, right? So I want other weapons to have actual use cases like shotguns do, right? Like shotguns are your, oh shit, I'm getting swarmed by cyborgs. I want the other categories of guns, or just specific guns in general, to have like choices like that. So like maybe stealthier guns, or not like silencers though, or just other guns with more utility.
I hate the surface.
All right, up we go. I forgot to trigger the spawn. All right, there we go. I suddenly do not feel remotely safe at all. That guy just ate 3 20mm short bullets. Okay, there's the HKs. Right on cue. Alright, what am I gonna have? Grabber. EODs. Orgamech. It might not actually pop up until I get down. Usually, there's a thing with HKs where if they can't path to you, they don't spawn. That's not always the case, but sometimes the case. I didn't bring meds. That's not good. Probably means it's time to leave then, I guess. Let's go the long way around. Oh, it's EODs. All right, we're good.
Taking fire.
Listen, I have played Still Wakes the Deep. I can perfectly understand Scottish people, okay? By the way, great game. I heard the expansion, the little DLC is not great, but I need to actually play it myself to determine that. Apparently it's just too short for the money, is what I heard. But Still Wakes the Deep, if you like narrative like walking simulators, Still Wakes the Deep's great. Looks great too. Very, very pleasing eye candy game. Yep, still works.
Well, we're already dead.
And you're like, how did we just leave? Because we yeeted ourselves into the pipe and hit E. That's why. I did not actually. They're Scottish, but it's not that it's not the same thing as Glasgow Scottish. It's not nearly, because they are making a game, right? They're not gonna lay it on that thick. Come play our walking simulator story game where you can't understand anyone. You know, let's go mech hunting real quick. That's plenty of that. Let's bring some drills. I think we're gonna go mech hunting on Mesa. We've had good luck recently actually with Mesa. Mesa's had a lot of mechs to shoot. We'll see how that holds up. There's nothing wrong with Short King, okay? Short King is beautiful. He's got a smaller hitbox, okay? If you're not playing Short King, you are just not min-maxing properly. No, IEDs are useless. It's really just not worth your time. At the most, they can kill a few infantry here and there. That's really about it. They are very disappointing. You are better off. You are better off bringing shotguns to kill tanks than bringing IEDs. Which is probably not the right comparison because shotguns are actually like one of the go-to methods of killing tanks, but yeah. Once again, you know, justifying armor. What did I do to deserve this? I actually did nothing. I spawned, I walked, and I have HK. Maybe it'll be a mech though, actually. Maybe this is a good thing. Oh, it could be the radar towers, right? I think the radar towers causes them threat. It could be the towers, actually. The towers are active. Oh yeah, the terminal is hacked over here, and then the towers are active, so it could be either one of those. Also, really? The second I show up with grenade launchers, they don't spawn. That would have been a perfect hit if you didn't stop. I win. See, like weirdly, like that level of accuracy, I think is pretty good. But I think the only ones that have that are the hunter killers. It also doesn't feel like right inaccurate. Like the inaccuracy for guns feels a bit weird. I don't know. Like that doesn't feel like a natural spread to me for some reason. Maybe it's the velocity, I guess. I don't know. Like the effect those MGs had is like the right amount of spread I think is necessary, but the way it didn't feel right. Where are my HKs then? Oh. He just dodged. Oh my god. He just dodged it. They're sentient. Alright, he's dead. Yeah, I imagine they probably didn't want to let have a creator like actually influence their game all that much. I don't know. Like having him as a companion is a nice little nod to him, but it's not as much as like making the full-fledged character. Damn, I missed. Not gonna lie, I don't. Even if it had to be scripted, I wouldn't care. Shooting down with those bombers would be so fucking cool. Seeing it crash. Yes. Up we go. All I want is a drone. Oh, sorry, as a medium mech. I'd be down. Even if it added like maybe like even if it just crashed off map too, that would be if they ever do events off maps, like for example like event locations as opposed to like actual maps. That would be a cool location, right? Like a crashed bomber site. Like say for example you railgun a bomber on a map and then it crashes somewhere, you can go investigate it later. That would be gnarly. Or honestly, just like hacking these AA guns too, right? Like none of these AA guns are actually active. That'd be like a cool, like multi-part little thing to do. Like go inside the bunker of Ashen Mesa, like hack the AA turrets to turn online, or just like repair a few of them. They shoot down a bomber, and you can go visit the bomber on a different map to like loot its contents and kill the cyborgs inside. All right, run it back. We'll give Mesa one more shot, and if not, we'll go to Elephant Mausoleum. Show me cyborgs. Or not, sorry, cyborg. I mean, Max. Show me Max. I have terrible news. I think it's the exact same gens before. Nothing changed, did it? That'd be cool too. I always felt like the bombs would be a great way of adding traversal to maps too, right? Like walking across the span of what's it called? The span of a bomber. It felt like it'd be like a cool way of doing like stairway too, right? Like having lots of stairway be destroyed, but having the ways you get up staircase just be like through all of these inconvenient methods, like climbing a bomber, going through like collapsed skyscrapers and stuff. I have been cursed once again. Don't worry, I'm okay. I probably need to, like, I think sit down. Maybe next stream we'll do it, where we're like, we grind out, what's it called? We grind out Scrapyard to actually find the flesh guy. Mr. Meat Patty. Is there a dog? I couldn't really tell. There might be a dog around. I have an AHK on me. It could be the dog. Basically Blood Panda. I basically feel like until I actually like sit down and try to do it, it won't actually happen. Yeah, I feel like I could have swore, like, last patch, like, the explosives felt like they were fixed, but I don't know what happened. Like, they bugged again, something like that? Essentially, for some reason, it feels like the explosives don't actually trigger their proximity damage consistently anymore. But last patch, it felt like it did. I kind of almost feel... I mean, do you need the codex to force it to spawn? Is it like once you have the codex, you can just bring it in and drop it and pick it back up and then it'll spawn? You just need to find it first. Or like via cheats. Yeah, as they the art is great. I guess we're going over to Elephant now to find our medium mechs.
Fresh and hard. Ooh. But at least we're headed home.
Let me get some more meds real quick. All right, we can do ruins. Hey, Jacob. I'm working on the next script, but it might be a bit. Getting footage is a pain in the ass. As you can imagine, most of the units that we're down to now, oh god damn it, are like conditional spawn units, which means getting them to spawn is not easy. Or just generally a pain. I mean, Opal, Meatman, Captain Chin. They all can be pains in their own ways. Yeah, nothing. Is that Mom? Nope. It's a Mirage. Alright, down we go. We're just gonna leave and come back because we're here for medium mechs, not for brawlers. So dark. So very dark. Hey, look, cows. I spent 5 water for that. I feel robbed. I want my water back. So, Coletta, the meat patty guy, Jacob, the only way to get him to spawn, to my knowledge, at least legitimately and not through cheats, is to find his codex in raid, which is a not guaranteed, it's a low % chance. It's like not only are you bound, like you're fighting with RNG, it's just a random drop on the floor. So you had to like balance, you had to fight with RNG, but you need to also go find it on the floor too. So like it's a lot of hoops to jump through. All right, show me medium mech. I do eventually want to see Fruipar, like, yeah, like stuff like that, like static, like props, or not, like, I mean, static in the sense they don't move, but they still move around, like, locally, right? Like the turrets and the guns and, like, yeah, more environmental things going on, not just enemies on the map. There we go. Just one? It's actually probably for the better. Oh, there's 2. Okay, they're behind each other. Alright, there's the HKs. Coming up. Yeah, more environmental stuff like that would be huge. Alright, where's my container? I know it spawned in the floor over here before. I really need to bring attack hammer. Okay, there it is. I think. No. Yeah, I really did bear attacking when I do these, man. There's so many areas where it'll just spawn the floor over here. Huh. Sir, that is, we'll say 12 meters away. No, it's not a traditional box, Jacob. It like spawns. It doesn't have any, like, it can't move around. It doesn't have physics on it. At no point does it actually move around. It just spawns. I kind of think that either like they were asset packs, they wanted to ground the conflict in like modern day, and it was a somewhat futuristic looking tank. Really, the reason why I cannot say, but like that's my thought. But no, like the same reason why it looks for terrain nearby and spawns on it, which is why sometimes like on Cemetery when you kill the grabber, it can actually spawn under the map on terrain. I mean, it's very on brand for our Short King to be very grumpy. It's so thoroughly fitting for a Short King to be grumpy like that. Where's the other medium mech? There was one over here too. There it is. I mean, my kind of theory, Agent, is like it's basically that, like where it's a tank that's real, so like it's kind of hard to fuck up the design of a real tank in sci-fi terms, but like it also has like a futuristic look to it, right? One more salvo instead. If I hit the salvo, that is. There it goes. Oh yeah, the death wall isn't... Yeah, this is perfectly fine. You can go a little bit farther than these rocks out here and you're fine. Like, we're close, but we're fine. You can go pretty far out this way. That way you have, like, no space, though. I mean, there are a few of the wrecks on this map for, like, custom tanks, right, that we don't have yet, like the super heavy tanks. I think a lot of it's too is like the maps just aren't really well designed for like having units of like large awkward sizes like that. Like you have this space out here that they can do it, this like large field, but like this is one of the few maps that can actually handle those big units. Well, it's not even Type 10s. There's two like giant custom tanks over in the ruins over there. There we go. I'm rich. New map is good. I think, like, it fixes some problems I had with, like, maps not having a lot of pathways. The only thing it doesn't... Weird. If it wasn't playing. The only thing it still feels like the other maps currently does is that, it doesn't really have any, like, locations on it. Like, it's a location itself, but, like, it just has a bunch of loot containers strewn across the map. It doesn't feel like... It feels like the gray zone of a war area, but why would we as scavengers want to go there, right? Wouldn't we want to go to the less in combat areas and loot around? I don't know. It's a map without any points of interest, basically. It's really well done. It looks really cool. It just needs places to go to. We'll do one more Babel, yeah. Like it's a really pretty map, but like all of the maps are it's one of the best looking maps in the game by far. It just has the same issues as other maps where just like it just needs some stuff to do on it. Or visit on it, right? Like on Frozen Swamp, I can go to the tower, I can go to the shantytown, I can go to the crawler, I can go to the train tracks, right? And like, sure, it's only 4 areas on that map, really, but like, that's still more than 0. The worst map visually is probably... I mean, naturally, like, Scrapyard's an easy shoe-in because it's so small and it's just like, it's like a trench line, so, like, naturally, it, like, doesn't have any visual strengths, right? But, like, maps that should have visual strength that I think actually are kind of lackluster visually, I would say Stairway. Like maps that have, I think, lots of untapped visual potential that do not use it, I would say Stairway is the biggest sin. Like it feels like a map that should have a lot more going on than it does. For a map that should have lots of amounts of like visual fidelity, like Scrapyard, like, sorry, Stairway should be one of the maps where you can actually like see far away at like the giant expanse, right? But you're just robbed of that both times. I mean, Stairway has shortcomings too, but like for untapped potential, like Scrapyard doesn't have potential because it's in a trench light, right? It has limited amounts of like actual visual fidelity to give you and around you, right? But in like the untapped potential sort of side, it feels like Stairway like has so much room to explore that's not explored.
It's always the same up here.
All right. Up we go. Like, the map looks really good. I just wanted to like... It feels like... This map almost like wants like hallways and rooms, and like this map almost in a way feels like it wants a dorm, right? Where you go inside of a building and like the battle's raging outside, but you're going room to room, like searching to see what the people are storing in there. And like certain factions might have control of those dorms. Like in a way, right, I almost feel like a location on this map would kind of be like the mega city blocks, right? Where like there's an empty interior here, right? And like you're going room to room, and like certain floors or certain sections have been like, you know, made high security by certain factions who are storing stuff there for the fight. Say for example, one faction has like blown an entire hole through one of the walls and is using it as like a makeshift helipad.
Not quite
Stuff
the
like
best,
that.
but not the worst.
Like that would be like a way how you kind of like shoe in like high threat areas in a map like this, right? Can I go up here? No. Curse you, invisible wall. See, like, in contrast, like, this map uses the space it, like, shows off to you in the distance very well, right? Unlike Stairway. It kind of felt like the skybox areas or the areas around Stairway were kind of rushed, while, like, this area, like, actually had some time and effort put into, like, its buildings around, right? Like, even in areas you shouldn't often see, right? It does a good job. I mean, there's kind of the break over here, but like, you really have to try and break the illusion to actually see past it. Thank you, Mr. Chopper. He's still alive. Let me in. So many cool areas I can't do anything with. This is the real curse, right? Like, it's got all this verticality, but so much of it's locked off. I don't know. Could be either or. You guys believe in me? Until we see like an actual expansion on rework maps, I'm not sure. Uh-oh. Sorry for the ear rape. Apologize. I thought I found a way out. Did I find a way out? Wait, hold on here. Sorry. I now want to explore. Ah, so close. I don't know. I kind of hope they spend more time on previous maps. I kind of feel like they're not going to be honest. Like, the pessimist in me says they're gonna keep old maps as it is and do new ones. I get the vibe they're not ones who really enjoy retouching old stuff they've done. They would prefer it to be a time capsule. I couldn't stand up fully, Michael. I was already crouched. No, I'm sure you're gonna go explore that later, so you can give me a report later if it actually works or not. There's really no reason to go over there. It's just death. Speaking of death. Anyway.
Time to count the scraps.
All right. So that's it for you, everyone. But before I go, I just do want to rehash this. I am doing a survey that will probably be sent over, will definitely be sent over to Fundog. It's mainly regarding like water and the void water left. So it's a very short survey. It's 4 questions, but one's optional at the very end. Fill it out, please. It will help me out a lot. I need like at least 30, I think, to have a decent sample size. And it's really just about the void that water left. I'm not saying they need to add IRL water back, but like they need something to fill that void. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you guys again on Wednesday. New video in the works. I can't give you a timeline when it's gonna be finished because I have other stuff going on, but we'll see how it goes. All right, bye everyone. See you Wednesday, and take it easy, all.